So in this video, I want to share with you an amazing accessory for off-camera flash photography. So hi everyone, this is Jiggie, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So before anything else, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel and would want to learn more about off-camera flash photography or maybe just photography in general, then this channel is for you. So you might want to consider subscribing, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to see some of my images, you could always follow me on Instagram. It's at Jiggie Alejandrino. So what is this accessory that I am talking about? It's basically something that you attach to your lens that could technically get you more power out of your flash. And I've actually discussed this in some of my videos already. And it's all about an ND filter. An ND filter is basically something that you put over your lens that cuts the light so that you're able to shoot within your flash sync speed and not have to go on high speed sync and still shoot wide open. By doing this, you're actually making your flash stronger. Just to be able to explain it a little bit for you guys who aren't familiar with high speed sync and flash sync speed. Your camera basically has what we call the flash sync speed. The flash sync speed is the fastest shutter that your camera can sync to your flash without what you call banding. In other words, it waits until the first curtain is open, and before the second curtain opens, it pops a flash. Therefore, you're getting the full image. However, if you are above the flash sync speed, what happens is your front curtain opens, your second curtain is already closing. That is really basically about speeds over 1/250. And therefore, the moment the flash pops and the rear curtain or the front curtain is still open, you will now get a black line in your image, which you call banding. And what high speed sync does is basically gives off continuous pops of flash that, since your first curtain is opening and your second curtain is already closing, and that sliver where your sensor is exposed is where the flash actually hits. The downside of that is that you lose a lot of power when it comes to your flash. In my personal experience, about 60 to 70% of the power. So if you're using a tiny speed light, then from 60 watts, you're down to like 20 watts. Which will never be enough for you to be able to actually control the sun. And you may ask why we do this is so that we can shoot with beautiful bokeh outdoor, or for videographers out there so that they can control their shutter speed. But for photographers, it's all about bokeh. It's all about controlling your ambient light and being able to shoot wide open. But honestly, for me, it's also a way when I shoot my wide open shots, it's about really getting more power out of my flash. So ND filters are not new, and ND filters are also not new. However, HNY came up with something called the Revering that I believe is very revolutionary, and it's perfect for off-camera flash users. Number one of the major issues is that you've got lenses with basically different filter threads. So if you ended up buying, let's say a few years back, just a 77mm ND filter, you definitely won't be able to use it with the newer versions of the 16 to 35 because these things have 82mm filter holders. And for you to be able to make them work, you will actually have to, let's say, get a step-up ring. What HNY did was that they created something that actually fits all filter ranges or all thread sizes. In other words, all you have to do is twist this one. It's gonna close from 67mm to 82mm. So I can actually technically use it with this one, which is my 50mm 1.2 GM, which has a filter thread of 72 mil. All I have to do is close this, put it on top, and let go, and it's gonna lock. So now I can actually use this very ND on any of my lenses. Now, what is the revolutionary thing when it comes to this particular filter? The fact that it has both a CPL and your ND filters. You basically have about 10 ND filters built into this one. That's why it's called very ND. So the moment you twist it, the darker it becomes, the more light stoppage or light shading you will be getting. However, there are some downsides to this thing, and that's what I want to discuss also. Now, let's put it here on my, oh sorry, before we put it here, what I am doing here now is that I am simulating really strong sun. That's why I actually put my shutter speed at 30 seconds. And if you want to shoot at 1.4, or maybe with this one with a 50 mil, the 1.2, you want to be able to bring your shutter speed down to 1/250. This is purely a simulation just to show the effects of this very ND and some of the things that you might have to watch out for. Number one, through my testing, look, this is an 82mm thread. It fits perfectly, easy. Now, you could see here on top, you've got minimum up to 5 stops to maximum 10 stops. So this is the max. This here, when I twist it around, you notice both are actually moving. When I twist it around is basically my CPL. Now, because of the nature of this one, the fact that it has a CPL, automatically your images will become warmer. But the nice thing about this HNY filter, this very ND or the Revering from HNY, is that the amber tone or the color cast that it's giving is, number one, easily corrected in post. And for me, I actually like warmer images, especially when I'm shooting outdoors, so it's not an issue for me. All right? So what happens when you are shooting at 16mm? As you can see here right now, we're at a very minimum, which is about 1.5 stops. The moment we go to 2, that is 2 stops, 3 stops, 4 stops, 5 stops. We're good until there. But the moment you pass 5 stops, you will now see like a cross, and that is what you call cross polarization. Now, cross polarization is really inherent in very NDs with CPL filters. So for landscape photographers, this may be seen as a very big problem because they really want to be able to shoot with long exposure. But for me personally, with an ultra wide, I think 5 stops is good enough. So I don't think I will actually be going past 5 stops. That is, of course, for your ultra wide. But with my testing, the more you zoom, the less cross polarization you get. In other words, I tested it here. I actually have my notes here. Basically at 70 mm, you only get cross polarization at 9 stops, and at 85 mm, you get it only at the max value, which is 10 stops. Anything over that, you don't see cross polarization anymore. So that's a good thing to know when it comes to this Revering. But personally, I think the pros outweigh the cons in terms of being able to use this one without any filter holder with any of my lenses. Let's say, for example, here I've got my 85 1.4, which is a 77 mil thread. I can use it with that one easily. And then with my 50 mm, as I showed you guys earlier, it's not a problem. I have my 24 to 70 here, which is another 82mm lens, and it just fits perfectly. There you go. So this solves, or this accessory is actually a nice thing to have, especially if you're shooting with off-camera flash photography, because it gives you that flexibility to be able to shoot within your flash sync speed and not having to go on high-speed sync, and yet still be able to maximize a lens like this so that I can shoot at 1.2 outdoors and still keep my shutter speed within my flash sync speed. Okay? So if you want to know more about the techniques that I've actually used here, there's a bunch of videos in my channel, and you can just go through them because I normally would talk about flash sync speed, high speed sync, also with outdoor flash photography. Now, if you want to learn even more, I actually do conduct one-on-one online workshops, the details of which is in the description below. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Now, if you want to see more of my images, you could also find me on Instagram. It's at Jiggie Alejandrino. Okay, till the next video.